good afternoon everyone. This is Talking Jobs with me, Rachael Bromnick, and today what we're going to try to do is give some helpful tips to people to start or continue volunteering and gaining experience. So if you've been listening to the recording so far, all the professionals that we've talked about, everyone has said about developing yourself, developing your CV, so you expand your portfolio beyond just your academic subject. And I've always been a great advocate for volunteering. I've always been a volunteer myself since I was a little kid. I used to do it because it was fun and I used to believe in what I was working for. I was a cadet with the British Red Cross Society from a young age. But if you've never volunteered before, it's not too early, not too late to have a think about how you can develop yourself, develop your skills, develop your CV. And I'll just tell you about a paper that I read. The paper was entitled From Enjoyment to Employment, and they interviewed people, and the participants that they interviewed talked about really loving the scheme or the organisation they were with, and then how they took that into their work. And I did some research myself, did some research with Ava Horowitz, and we looked at people's motivation for volunteering, and we actually talked in our paper about the opposite way round. So we talked about people going from employment to enjoyment, because when we interviewed psychology students, they'd started their sort of journey into volunteering in quite a, well, how should I call it, like instrumental way, like, oh, I need to do something, so I'm going to have to do something. But then when they started, they really, really enjoyed it. So it doesn't matter what your starting point is, it doesn't matter what your motivation. We're here today to give you some tips and ideas about how to get started volunteering. So stay tuned. I'm going to introduce you to a very special guest who's going to help flesh out this topic and will tell you everything you need to know. So welcome today, Emma Blackburn! Yay! All right, Emma, you're one of our undergraduate students currently on sabbatical. Mm-hmm. So why don't you just introduce yourself to our listeners?
Thank you, Rachael, for having me. I'm on my sabbatical this year, so I was a second year student, and I'm the Vice President Welfare and Community at Lincoln Students' Union. So I help all students with things like volunteering, but also welfare, housing, anything like that.
All right, that sounds really great. So when you were a student, so you stopped your studies at your second year. Now, just before we get started, I'm going to embarrass you because quite often some students say to me, I don't want to take on anything beyond my studies because my grades might suffer. I tell you, I wish you could see this because she's bright red. Because Emma, your grades were really, really good. And I know that since you've started here at Lincoln and before, you've always been very active in doing stuff.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get involved with things. I think it really brings the whole experience together. The whole university experience is made by the things you do outside of the class as well as inside. So I've always been doing volunteering ever since I was sort of 16 with various different opportunities.
What sort of things did you do when you were younger?
So I started doing a lot with girl guiding. So I did lots of projects on young leadering, so helping young people get into social opportunities and learn new skills. I did a project called Peer Education, which is all about teaching sort of 8 to 10 year olds about body confidence and mental well-being and gender differences and things like that.
Oh, really important schemes.
Yeah, really important.
I mean, the thing is, we're going to talk about this in a moment. There really is so many different organisations that are looking for people, aren't there? And so many different ways of working with young people, old people, the environment.
Most volunteering opportunities we have are all about people, which is all about psychology, really, both on and off campus. There's loads of things to get involved with,
I think it's great because I see it as two-way, because we've got a lot of organisations locally and nationally, but particularly in Lincoln, that are looking for people, and we've got a lot of people that are looking for experience or other things. So let's just get into some of the nitty-gritties. So you're working for the SU. How can the SU sort of help people get started volunteering?
Sort of volunteering brokerage system. So what that is we connect students with volunteering opportunities charities and organisations. So for example, we've got lots of opportunities on there at the moment, and how you can do it is you log onto the website through your student account like you would log on to anything in the university, and then there's different opportunities, so in different categories. So we've got categories that are all based around skills, so you can search for, say you want to build your communication skills, then you can search on the website for opportunities that are distinctly about communication. Or you can search through the type of volunteering you want to do. Say you want to work with young people or the elderly. There's different tabs that you can go on that give you more
particular
of a
client groups
particular client groups, particular community projects. Say you're into arts and crafts, things like that. All different types of volunteering you can find.
And there's ways of combining things, isn't there? Because it's not just arts and crafts
Yeah.
or the elderly.
Lots of our opportunities appear in more than one of the tabs. So, for example, in the elderly, there'll be things to do with arts and crafts, or maybe animals as well, for example. But yeah, there's definitely opportunities that cover lots of different types of.
And then you click on that, and it tells you a little bit more about the project, doesn't it?
Yes. So it gives you a brief overview of what the project is, how much time it takes up, and sort of where it's based. And then what you can do is you register your interest, and then what we do at the Student Unions is we put you straight in touch with the charity themselves or the organisation, and then they'll get in contact with you, and it varies in the ways through different organisations, but often you'll be invited in for a short chat, maybe fill in a little application form, or come to a sort of induction day. It varies.
Right, that's really important. And I always say to students, I hope we've got some first and second years listening, because I always say you have to be a bit patient, because it can take a bit of time if you want to work, say for the Lincolnshire Action Trust. You need DBS
checks. Checks. A lot of the ones that require working with sort of vulnerable people require DBS checks.
And then obviously some training. So it can take. It's not like you can decide day one. I want to do this, and then need to start. So do give yourself some time and patience to get involved. So what sort of current things can people find live on the website?
So I've just picked a couple out that I think might be of interest to psychology students particularly. So we've got a couple of opportunities available at Action, which is a charity for alcohol and drug misuse.
And that's a local
charity based in Lincoln, not far away at all. And they've got loads of different opportunities available, from support workers to volunteer listeners and things like that. That give you a live experience of working with people who have been affected by alcohol and drugs. We've also got an opportunity based at Headway, which is a charity for people who have had sort of head injuries, brain injuries, and so that is a 10-pin bowling volunteer.
Oh my God, I want to do this.
So they have they have a 10-pin bowling trip that goes every week or whatever, and then they need a volunteer to sort of administer that and run all of that. So that's an opportunity of working with people who have had sort of brain injuries. We've also got a few opportunities at Lincolnshire Rape Crisis, which is a charity that supports young women, any kind of women that have experienced rape or sexual harassment. But it's a female support worker role, so talking over the telephone, over email, over online chat with victims of sexual assault, and helping them through sort of recovery.
Just before you go on, so people would get training, wouldn't they, in that role?
Yeah, so there's lots of different, like I said,
oh my God, I don't know if I could do it. But
for example, the level of training you'd get with a female support worker versus a 10-pin bowling volunteer would be very different. But also all that training would give you all the different skills that you'd get. So not only doing the volunteering itself, but all the training is really, really useful when you're looking for future employment or you just learn loads basically. It's a really good opportunity.
What else then? Because I know there's some elderly ones.
Yes, there's a couple. There's a dementia support project, which is all about supporting people with dementia. We've got a couple of opportunities at Age UK as well, which is often supporting elderly people. Doing sort of bodying schemes. Age UK put on loads of different clubs, so they need volunteers to help run all of those, which is really important. And then we've got a couple working with young people as well. So, for example, there's a young person's learning mentor with Oasis, so they give out extra support to students, young people who need a bit more sort of mentoring and support through life. And then we also have Hope House School, which is a school in Newark, so it's a little bit further away, this one, but that's a school for students with autism, and so they need a support worker as well, a volunteer support worker to help with that as well.
Oh, that really does sound interesting. What I would say to people is, have a look through, because if you're new to volunteering, you might want to go on one of the schemes where you're, say, doing the temping bowling or doing one of the works in one of the clubs or the arts and crafts, and that will build up your confidence and skills to take on maybe a more ambitious project with some of the more vulnerable client groups. It's a bit like, it's no different to being in the workplace.
Yes.
You know,
start from the bottom and you build up.
And it'll help, because I think sometimes people naturally, they maybe not sure about their own confidence, so it's the confidence to take that first step, isn't it? And then you'll get the support, meet people.
And particularly as well, if you haven't got the confidence to take on a full volunteering role off campus, we do have lots of opportunities on campus as well.
All right, well, tell us about some of those sort of projects then.
So a lot of the on-campus volunteering we do is based with students, obviously. So we have our SU Volunteer Scheme, which is all about working with students, particularly we've got some opportunities with international students, helping them fit in and things like that, which is a volunteering opportunity, working with people but working with students, so it's really sort of a first step into volunteering for a lot of people. And we also have our student-led projects as well, which is a project that students can get involved with, and they run their own, it's a bit like a society, but they run their own project, so they sort of decide something they're really passionate about. So, for example, one that might be interested in psychology is Samaritans. So our Samaritan Student-led project is currently run by 2 third-year psychology students.
Yay for them! We're the best!
And they're really passionate about Samaritans and listening. And so what they do is they, on campus, they support students either get into Samaritans, because we've got Samaritan volunteering opportunities as well. But again, it's that first step, so you can join the SLP at Lincoln, take part in some of their awareness events or their fundraising events, and then you could go on to be a Samaritans listener, which is like the next step.
I know they love students, because often students take the night shifts, which which other volunteers.
Well, that's how our 2 psychology students started. They were volunteers, but they understood it's quite a big step to do that, to go straight into being a listener, and so that's why they wanted to create the student-led project to support students to make that step.
Great. And of course, we're really proud of the Alzheimer's group.
Yes. Yeah, our Alzheimer's student-led project are doing amazing things always. We have a lot of psychology students who volunteer with them. They put on loads of awareness sessions. They do the Dementia Friends sessions, obviously, with you, Rachael, and then they also do lots of fundraisers.
Lots of fun stuff as well, don't they?
Yeah, Elf Day every year. They're currently organising a dementia-friendly performance, which is going to be for local residents with dementia in various different care homes coming in to do a special dementia-friendly performance. So things like that are really great opportunities to get involved. If you don't want to work directly with adults, with vulnerable adults, it's something that you could do to help raise awareness and fundraise for that charity if it's something you're really passionate about.
And I know you're open if there's a student listening who thinks they've spotted a gap somewhere in the Lincoln community, whether that's the student community or just living in
definitely.
You're open to them coming along.
If it's a project they're passionate about and something they want to make change. So what we had one last year which was called Educate, which was going into schools and doing sort of mental health awareness talks. But sadly the student left and graduated. So things like that, all the stuff is there ready for them to do it again if someone was interested in taking that over, or if a whole new idea that someone's got about just raising awareness on campus or anything like that, then let us know. Get in touch.
That's brilliant. I mean, I've looked at your website and it's brilliantly well organised. What if somebody's listening and they're still not quite sure and they want to sort of maybe speak to someone about what's right for them? What would you advise for that?
So I think the best thing to do with volunteering would be, we've got May, who's our employability coordinator at the Students' Union, and so she offers a drop-in session every Thursday, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m.
In the SU?
In the Career Centre. So ground floor of the library in the Career Centre. She has her own little desk and she does a drop-in. So anyone who's looking for volunteering and wants to have a bit more detail, maybe help find the right opportunity, then they can come along and she can help them navigate our website and whatnot.
And she'd find out what sort of things they were interested in.
Yes, find out what they were interested in, what they wanted to get out of the volunteering, sort of what their end goal is, and then help them make sort of a bit of a plan of how they could get there.
All right. Oh, that's really, really helpful. Do you have any sort of other comments or advice to people about sort of getting started? Or
I think I think it just get started and get it underway.
Okay.
Get started.
Take that first step.
Take that first step. Take
Yeah.
that first jump, and you'll really, really appreciate it at the end. I think it's really important that you enjoy what you're doing, and not always, even if you've got a specific goal that you want to achieve, a specific job that you really want, any form of volunteering really builds up all your different skills, confidence, communication, your people skills, all these kind of things. So whatever you do, it doesn't necessarily need to be exactly what
100%
you're
of a
looking
match.
at. Yeah.
I would say as well, just to follow that up, don't worry if you don't know what you want to do, because any scheme will help.
Yeah.
You know, whatever your goal, even if you go into accountancy,
Yes.
you will have built up those people skills, that
Exactly.
time management, those generic skills, as well as the client contacts.
And even sometimes when you don't know what you want to do and you just start something, you find out what you want to do on the
It
way.
can really help,
Yeah.
can it? Sort of focus your mind and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's brilliant, Emma. I'm so proud of you. You're doing
for
such a
having
great
me.
job,
Thank you.
and I know that the SU will really be out there supporting people. So take full advantage of your time here at Lincoln. It cuts both ways. There's things you can do for your own sort of personal and professional development, but these organisations that Emma have mentioned in Lincoln really rely on student volunteers. Really appreciate the time that you can give. So please have a look, get involved. You can email with any questions. I'm sure they can contact you.
Yes,
find
yeah,
out about
feel free
things.
to get in touch if you've
Yeah,
got
we'll
anything.
make sure you've done that. All right, thanks everyone. It just remains now for us to say goodbye. Thanks for listening. Been listening to Talking Jobs. Bye from me.
Thank you, bye.